Hello, all you lovely film fans, and welcome to our Halloween edition of the St. Mungo's Film Society podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Johnston, joined by all my lovely film ambassadors. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, wow. I love that. It sounds so many this time, guys. Those obviously we can't because it's not a visual medium. You can hear us. There's also a lot more ambassadors here who have came for our Halloween special. Whoop, whoop. Right. So, again, just in time for Halloween, and this is our Halloween recommendation. Well, some of us recommend it, some of us don't, but we'll come to that a bit later on. It follows. Okay, so after sleeping with a handsome stranger, Jay quickly learns that she has inherited a most unusual curse. That's an understatement. Wherever she goes, lumbering half-naked phantoms follow, and their singular goal is to see her dead. Desperate, Jay turns to her younger sister and loyal circle of friends for help. In time, however, Jay learns that her only hope for escaping death is to sleep with someone else and pass on the curse. But the pursuing phantoms are invisible to Jay's friends, and it soon becomes apparent that her time is running out. Now, with death closing in, the terrified young woman will be forced to make a difficult decision if she hopes to survive her terrifying ordeal. That was a mouthful. Damn. Right. Written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. That's the door. Thank you, Patrick. Starring Micah Monroe, Keir Gilchrist, Olivia Liccardi, and Daniel Zovato. So, yeah, some nice fancy names there as well. So, what we're going to talk about first time, so our ideas, we're going to talk about the genre itself, how this film kind of plays on the genre. We're going to talk about themes. I wonder what the common theme is in this movie. Go on, Lexi, say it. Lexi's podcast debut, and she shouts sex. Your mother will be so proud. We're talking about the movie's influences, the setting, how it all becomes another character of the movie, characters, score, and that ending which we all watched. Didn't we, guys?
Yes.
Apparently, for those at home, some people couldn't watch the end of it because they were too freaked out by Tom in a very long.
It was terrifying.
I know why.
I swear he's my house goat. It's not funny.
So the first off, right? David R. Mitchell talked about where the concept derives from. It's a nightmare he used to have when he was sleeping. Obviously, because it's a nightmare. I don't know why I said that. But he used to have this kind of this stalker predator follow him all the time. It's a Hampton Island.
After watching this movie.
So there you go. He's passed on his fear of stalkers.
Oh, I hate stalkers.
Oh my goodness, me too, Lexi.
We were talking about this and we had to
Screw stalkers. We don't need them in this world, do we? They're just silly little sallies, honestly. Anyway, so what genre is this film? What do we think?
No, well, see, the thing is, horror, but I wouldn't find it very scary. Like, I wouldn't say it's...
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Just because something's horror, you don't have to find it scary. It can still follow conventions of horror.
It could be like horror and something else.
Definitely, yeah. Anything more specific, more than horror? Oh, go. Say it loud, say it proud, Morgan.
Slasher film.
Okay, again, it follows the conventions of a slasher film, but also dissects what makes a slasher film. So if we think of our normal, everyday slasher film, right? You talk about teenage victims, which this film has. We have, it's come back to higher media flashbacks there, Katie, I do apologise, as well as our current higher media lot, Loving Life. The idea of a masked or unseen killer, right? So already that one, the unseen killer, the masked killer. So you think about Friday the 13th, Michael Myers, yeah? Scream, brilliant. Another one that reinvented the genre as well. But this one takes that concept and moves further forward with the idea of the unseen killer. How? What do we think about that? So how do we not... What is about this killer makes it different from other slashers? Kieran?
I'll never know what its proper form looks like. Like what it looks like before anyone has sex.
Yeah, so what is it?
Invisible.
It's invisible.
It's not human.
It's not human. Again, we don't really know what it is. That's why it's called... It Follows. Brilliant. Obviously it's like a phantom of some sort. But Kieran pointed out there, we don't know its actual form. But right before this podcast, I spoke about my theory behind it. Again, I don't know. Again, it's just a theory. But all the different forms that it takes are, again, could they be people who have been experienced or inflicted sexual violence? You mean, so if you look at the forms of the phantom takes, the tall man with a very long neck, we pointed out the fact you can't see his eyes.
Like
So-
in school.
As if they've been targeted. Yeah, no, you're right, Lexi. As if they've been squashed. So, do you think that's the idea of someone defending themselves against a sexual attack, something like that? So, just say it
And then
again.
they're like coming back to try
Yeah, go.
like they're coming back to try like warn them, obviously, but like obviously they're getting scared of them. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It's again the idea of a poltergeist is in our popular culture and films is the idea of unfinished business. So that's why they take that form, because these people are victims to sexual violence. But also you had the women in the kitchen who she's missing teeth, battered and bruised, hair torn apart, clothes ripped apart, and she starts to urinate on the floor. And obviously all common signs of abuse, and especially sexual abuse. So that's why I think that might be a valid theory. I don't know, I might put it out there, get some feelers out there. Who knows? I think some traction with that one. Yeah, I think so.
I can be the closest one.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, guys, this one's so nice. Right. So, definitely teenage victims, and what, again, how and what happens? So, what's the whole premise of this phantom? How does it change? How does it start following you?
When you have sex with the person that has what's it called?
Has the curse? The curse? Yeah, the curse. Yeah. Essentially. Yeah.
Entity.
The entity so again, yeah. So then it starts to follow that person. So if you pass it on, what happens to that person?
They get it.
They get it. They get it.
They get
It. What was it you were going to call it before the podcast? You can just say it, let us, okay?
the clap.
I don't understand.
We'll keep it that way, Clexi. Thank you so much. It's okay. Right, yeah. So essentially what we discussed, the idea of this film is a metaphor for STDs, isn't it? Oh, yay! Talk about STDs in the Catholic school. Miss Dr. Holland, I love my job. don't leave. Don't let me leave. Anyway, so yeah, sexual transmission diseases. So again, if these people are having sex, it passes on the idea of a demonic entity that was going to kill you. So it's almost passing on these old religious values about how people view sex and promiscuity as well, Lexi.
Like you shouldn't have sex like before marriage.
I thought you were just going to say you shouldn't have sex. Stop. Safest form of sex? None. Abstinence.
It's like giving them like karma because they've went and had sex before.
Yes, exactly. So, go on, Kieran.
Here's a question. See if it got given to somebody and then that person got pregnant. If person hadn't passed it on yet, would the kid be like haunted by it or like that?
Can you imagine like a wee demonic baby following you about like later on at some point? Or you're pushing your pram is like, what? Go away.
That's really a valid point, though, if
Valid
you think
point.
about it. Like, because
Go on, Keris, go on, you want to say something here?
I don't know what I was going to say. If they had sex and they were pregnant and they managed to escape it for 9 months, had the child, would the child be cursed?
Yes, an absolute fair point.
You can't have sex when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
No, but it damages the baby, doesn't it?
No,
it's
I
actually
watched like
good for
the
the
Alamo
baby.
on the scenes of Friends.
I think this is going down a rabbit hole where this podcast is not.
Let's all do the Morgan symbol, guys. Yes, before we get any further. This is a great choice of film, Mr. Johnston. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, so thank you for that interesting discussion, Kieran. Yeah, definitely. So it's a warning. It's almost like I speak to my higher class about the idea of the final girl, which this film clearly has. The final girl is kind of evolved and changed over the course of decades. In the 70s and 80s, the final girl was pure of heart, virginal, innocent. So you're looking at Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie in Halloween. Her two pals in Halloween up to some promiscuous activity and died. Laurie. And Laurie went, no.
No.
No, not for me. I don't need no man. She survived. Right? The original Friday the 13th, Alice, did exactly the same thing. So Alice and Friday the 13th, as the other campers are away canoodling, Alice doesn't take part in all that. And who survives? Alice, right? We can see someone's upbringing here, guys. That's absolutely fine, which is absolutely fine, and religious values, which is absolutely great. But what we're talking about here is the idea of how the role of the final girl has changed and evolved over the decades. So from that, to example, Scream. Right? The first Scream film, most of us or all of us have seen Scream here. Yes. Right? The character of Sydney. They actually go through the rules of surviving a slasher film, don't they? The idea is, again, you can never have sex, otherwise you're going to die. You can never say, I'll be right back, because you won't be back, you'll be dead. Right? Sydney has sex with Billy in it. I know, right? No, right, Lexi? No way, indeed. Right? But, does Sydney die?
No. She
Oh,
survived.
no. Because
Why do you think?
Because why not? Because we're... See that again, Kara? Say it louder.
They're feminists.
We are feminists, right? Okay? We don't have to follow society values. We can be and make our own choices. I'm using the first person here, but I'm an ally, so it's okay. It's our body, our choice, right? Yeah, so then, again, if you go back to the idea of the newer Scream films, so Scream 5 and 6, they've further evolved that character of the final girl with Sam. Sam, who clearly has a kind of dark past with drugs and alcohol, because again, those other rules you couldn't follow. Are you getting PTSD flashbacks, Katie?
I feel like it's my essays all over.
I feel like I'm doing a lesson on Scream again. But and obviously she's got a promiscuous past as well. But she is the new final girl and new face of the franchise. So this film kind of taps into all that in a strange ways. It's almost going Old Testament in a way. It's like, if you have sex, you will be killed, isn't it? It's going back to the old values, which I find quite weird. And obviously with teenage victims, it's the idea of teenagers think they're invincible. They do. There's no fear when you're a teenager, right? Absolute zero fear. I mean, I wish I could feel that's like again, but I just don't. Yeah, and it just living life, living free with zero consequences. No worries, or what they think they should worry about doesn't really matter in the grand scale of things, you know. Until you get older, Kieran, me hands up, go for it.
I was going to say, I forgot what, remind me of this. One thing in the movie that confused me is, in the hospital, when she decides to finally have sex, that was so, sudden. There was no build-up to it. It's the camera shot just changed and she was just, somebody was just,
I do agree.
on her.
Yeah.
It was very much, there was no
warning
build-up.
sign.
It was just
She was about to die in the hospital.
I fear we may be going down another bad rabbit hole with this conversation. Yeah, thank you, Lexi, taking your job here.
Not in that way, in the sense...
Well, that's what people were taking.
No. I was meaning in a way that it was very sudden. It was a
Out of
sudden
nowhere.
plot change.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that, yeah.
I thought that he was going to help her escape the hospital, to escape the...
Yeah.
That's what I took from it, but then seconds later, I just a nice little pan of every room in the hospital.
It's build up to it.
I love that movie.
Living it live, it means no worries, guys. So, it's like teenage life. And if in doubt, Hakuna Matata. That's me trying to segue and avoid that question. Anyway, so it definitely follows the slasher genre. And at the end, which we'll talk about later on, and people might be able to catch up with the end of the film that I haven't watched yet during this podcast, we've got on to influences of the film. David Robert Mitchell said that clearly he's grown up watching horror films. Is there any films or any film maybe come to mind when you watch this film that remind you of other ones?
Halloween.
Why?
Because of the soundtrack. and
The
score.
soundtrack, that synth soundtrack
Mhm.
made by Disaster Piece, which is really cool. Yeah, Disaster Piece in it as well has a cameo. He's the voice on the tannoy on the radio. Super cameo there, right?
Is he actually?
Yeah, I dug down into a deep hole, guys, on Wikipedia. Yeah, so, definitely Halloween, but for those who have seen Halloween, can you describe the setting of Halloween, what it's like, what it looks like? The suburbs.
Yeah, like, doesn't look like it would be like a horror film.
Yeah, it's this idyllic suburb, wide streets. Yeah. So you think that, especially the scene in Halloween, when Laurie and her pals are walking down the street and you see Michael Myers standing from behind the bush. I mean, first of all, you clearly notice someone.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't one of those three, you'd be driving past going, who's that guy? He's this guy's walking about Haddonfield with a white mask on
Yeah, with
and a
a
boil
coat.
suit. And it's not even Halloween yet. You're like, that guy's playing that psycho. You know what I mean? So how's that happen? But yeah, it's again because the idea of suburbs suburbs are meant to be safe. They're meant to be safe, you know. It's like it's where people go to escape danger.
American
The
community.
Gated community essentially is again it is a sense of community that everyone has, and suburbs are meant to be that. But what Halloween does, it flips it on its head as well. Scream does that because obviously they've got big, massive mansions. But again, it should be safe, but they're not. And it follows, it's exactly the same. Taps into that. So that's one. Definitely. Are there any other horror films you can think of? Sophie?
A bit of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Go, tell me.
They can't escape it. Like, it's always going to be there.
Yes.
Obviously, unless they pass it on.
Yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street is a slasher film. But it's not similar to your other slasher films because,
Because, like, you're not going to get away from this. Like,
yes,
he's going to kill you
he's going to kill you where?
in your dreams.
Yeah, the one place like you're meant to be safe is in your dreams because nothing can happen to you in your dreams. So never sleep again, guys.
Yeah, I never did after that movie.
Yeah. So, so I love that the very fact that it's almost inevitable. I think, and I think that inevitability. Oh, that's a hard word to say. It's apparent in this film as well because no matter where you are, it's always going to follow you. You know, and I like that about that. It's something. Yeah, I think people were initially scared of the film itself, but it's a film when you start thinking about it and discussing it and really thinking about it a lot more, it freaks you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, for example, if one of us here had the curse, again, someone somewhere will be making a direct line to you right now. And you wouldn't know it. If I just freaked everyone out a wee bit.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was my alarm telling me that I'm meant to be here.
It's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes past the start of the podcast. I'm glad you can make it. It's like, thanks for.
I forgot I said that. I
Thanks
said
for-
that like this morning and I was like half awake and I was like, let me just say it a lot.
Thanks for making time in your schedule to come and speak to us. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. So remember the boat scene, the boathouse scene, where they go to the beach and try to hide and so on. Yeah. And it's all of a sudden the hair starts getting pulled and it starts getting thrown about. Where did they run to? Do you remember? The shed, or it's a boathouse. It's a boathouse, right? And as a hole gets punched in the side of the boathouse, and you get a horrible wee guy, right? It just screams, right? So, if you think about that scene, right, you've got survivors inside and an outside force trying to get in, breaking through walls, breaking through the side of the building, stuff like that. What kind of horror film do we think from then? Can we think of any?
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh, how relevant! How relevant is that? You know what?
There's this. Oh,
I feel like if we start talking about this, we're going to another deeper rabbit hole, and I'm not going to do
but
it.
there's a
Evil
scene.
Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2, brilliant. You're watching it on Monday, aren't you? Monday. No spoilers. Yeah, right. I was actually thinking more of Night of the Living Dead.
I've never seen
What's
that.
that? Never heard
Zombies. It's the definitive zombie film, right? Why? Because it can happen.
Ah,
They're real.
Actually.
don't get me started on zombies because I could go on a whole rant about how we should just live as a zombie society.
Well, have you driven through Cumbernauld? I can say it.
How?
I'm from there.
I can say it too.
You can't say it, guys, otherwise it's offensive.
Explains a lot.
That you laugh at, Keris. Explains a lot. Right. Lexi, you're on a roll today, comedic-wise, eh? Lexi had a wee joke today in class, didn't you, Lexi? In class today. In art. WWE. And Lexi made a joke, and oh my god, these cute boys are laughing as well. It was so cute. It's like a proper, like, oh, see. Right. Well, making boys laugh. Yeah, or this art in general. Right. Okay, so so Nightmare on Elm Street is a big influence on this as well because of the outside force trying to get in. Because he actually cites John Carpenter and George Romero as heavy influences on his film career and the films that he's watched. So, also the idea is the dreamlike aspect, which goes leading to our next point, is the setting as well. It's influenced by a nightmare. Okay, there's something very dreamlike about it as well. How it's shot and how it sounds, okay, and how it looks overall as well. Because one thing we would try to decipher and try to look at is when is it set?
Like night.
See, on fire, Lexi. I think we found the unsung star of this podcast, guys. Right? Mommy is decade. You think 90s?
Correct.
80s? Any? Yeah. It follows, what do you think? 70s, 80s? Yeah, again, it's... Again, that was the clamshell one. As an e-reader, it was called. It's just read a book on it, right? But at the start, how did she phone her dad?
Oh, house phone. No, wait, no, I can't.
On a mobile phone.
Oh,
Yeah, no, because see that. Wait, so
Is that hard at the start?
No, it's a different girl.
Wait.
Because you think about it again, like slasher films, like think of the Scream films. Someone dies at the start. It's like your cold opening, isn't it? So it's like you see his cold opening, someone dies, you're like, oh, what the hell just happened there? So it's kind of like that. But she's on the beach at night time, and the car lights are flashing on her, and she's on her phone to her dad. So it's definitely there's a mobile phone, and they're started in the 80s.
So maybe that
future.
Maybe that was in the future. And
Oh.
she's actually got the disease and that happened
And then it's like a big
before that.
flashback.
Yeah. And that's like the origin of how it's
That's
changed
actually
history.
That's
Oh, I
that.
see.
That might be better than yours.
Might just top it.
Lexi, I'll give you detention, pal. I'll do it. No, I really like that idea. Again, never really thought about that, but yeah, I was thinking about the use of technology in it as well. And as you say, the synths. There's something very 80s about synth music, isn't it? You think about all your 80s new romantic bands, you know, and the good stuff, you know, and music was music. It's all synthesizers and keyboard stuff like that. But also the televisions, the cars. Like, I'm not a big car person, but Lexi, you're a car expert. Like, you can see how... Was that? The movie or just cars in general? Ka-chow! So, yeah, there's that. So time is a big setting about it as well. So the idea is, we talked about the first time we watched it, is we've compared it to Sex Education, the TV show. Yeah.
I love this show.
It's a great show, isn't it? But the idea of that, we don't know when it's set. It's meant to be quite ambiguous. It takes from all different time periods, just to make sure that it's relevant to teenagers of any decade. So could that maybe be a point I'm trying to make with this film as well, that it doesn't matter what decade you're in, you're still falling into the pressures and issues of teen life as well. I'm going to go Iona first.
See, the thing is, so that the outfits that they wore in It Follows, I thought it was quite like 2010, 2012, especially the girl at the start. That's what kind of confused me, because I thought, like, I can't remember, she had like a top on.
The vest, denim skirt and the heels.
It was like the
Which
heels, the high
yours
heels and the
didn't
top.
go.
No.
It didn't go.
But that's
You know
like-
what? It
that's
served at the time.
Yeah, because
I mean, she ran her heels. The nails off.
How can
I
I
know.
know. And then you'll
Okay.
surprise and like slashers, like they if they hear a noise they go to it.
Yeah. Why would you?
Why?
Why would you?
So why would you run it like if you know you can't? You're not going to get any far if you're running heels. Why not take them off?
I'll give you an example before I get Kieran in, right? Is it's maybe a wee bit off topic, so get ready, Morgan, to do your symbol, right? So the idea of going to a noise in a horror film, I remember I was cat sitting one time, and this cat apparently we told that it never really hunts or anything like that, hasn't really killed anything before in his life, right?
What cats were you taking care of?
It was a cousin's cat.
Like mountain lions.
Oh no, but again, cats do kill things, right? Yeah, get the point. Getting some story rolling, right? And what happened was, the cat flap opened, but the cat didn't come in. It was a wing, right? And then further on, and then a wee bird head flopped down, and then the cat's face came in, holding a dead pigeon in his mouth. So, to get to your point, Lexi, of running towards the noise, I ran out the house. So there's a dead pigeon in this house. I'm cat sitting. I ran straight out. Me and my wife had to deal with it. Because so in the face of death, I manned up and ran straight out the house when my wife was there dealing with that dead pigeon. Not only did it happen once, it happened twice in the one night.
I would have left that cat in that house.
Right.
No.
Kieran, I'll get you in now. Go.
It also felt quite dreamy because like I thought described like in every scene, it just felt like there was something missing. Like the scene never really felt like.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a stream of consciousness throughout. The way it's shot, you got these big wide angle shots and so it's very dreamlike because in a dream it's very vivid, isn't it? You know, experience everything at the same time. So yeah, I totally agree. Sophie?
Going back to the mixed decades kind of thing, it could show that it's always been there and it's always going to be there because of the mix thing.
So it's an entity that's been as old as time. Ah, prequel idea, how it all started.
How it all started.
And how a capital IT, how it started. Prequel idea, I love that.
I need more money, so let me make it. 'Cause,
Get to the role.
yeah.
Get to the role, love it.
Please.
Yeah. Next part of our setting is where it's actually set. Does anyone know where it's set? Detroit. Yes. And also we see... You from Detroit? You a big Detroit fan? I said, like, big Eminem fan. Whoop. Right. Speaking of Eminem, I'll get a wee point here. Draw you want it? It's a point here. No, honestly. No. Too easy. No. We see two sides to Detroit here, right? We do.
What's this got to do with Eminem?
I'll get to it. Right? Here we go. Here's my point. Here's the Eminem point. We have the good side to Detroit. We have the bad side to Detroit. So the abandoned house and that they go to. We see all these kind of derelict homes. Because do you know what road they crossed to get to that?
No.
Sorry? 8 Mile. Boom. Thank you very much. Ye of little faith, people. Right? Again, I said Eminem, he's all looked at me, he's like, oh, here we go. He's on one of these weird tangents again. And this is actually relevant. This is relevant.
Abandoned car park at the start.
Exactly. The factory, they crossed 8 Mile to get to that.
There's like Eminem film.
Eminem owns that factory. No, see, there's a point there. There's a point there. And right, here's where I'm going to bring it all home, guys, for the themes, influences, the setting, right? Because in the 80s, where this may or may not have been set, right, there was a epidemic going around in the world in the 80s. What was that epidemic? AIDS, right? What areas were mostly affected by the AIDS epidemic? Deprived areas. What happened, right? We had the rise of heroin. It's what heroin, the drug heroin, not as if a heroin, no, like heroin, a drug, right? I have to be sure, guys. I have to paint a picture here, right? And a lot of people as well, they couldn't afford their own needles, so they shared needles. And that's how this epidemic spread as well. It's not by chance that they crossed the 8 Mile track road to get to that derelict area. Because, was that?
You even notice that. We're looking at the road sign.
Have you never seen 8 Mile?
I actually read, guys. I read about it where it's set and so, and then the divide. So if you think about Cumbernauld, for example, the A80 divides Old and New Cumbernauld.
What's it called?
No.
Characters. So our main characters are Jay, which is played by Michael Monroe, Yara, Paul. Paul is the friend of the sister, yeah, who happens to fancy Jay, and also
The one that's in Atypical.
Yeah. And also was Jay's first kiss. I love the sound effects. Love it. Yeah. So and also we got Greg, played by Dan Zavato. He's the one who basically has the car, who helps him. He's the older and the neighbour. Yeah. He was washing his car at the start, and you see him. He drives the car for them. Yeah, the one in the hospital. Yeah. Okay. So Jay, in our case, is our final girl, right? Because she goes on the date, and that's all kinds of messed up, because it's almost set up to be this really romantic setting, this romantic date, because they go to the cinema and stuff like that. They go to the cinema, and he goes, let's get out of here. Because do you remember what happens at the cinema?
Yeah, there's that lady.
Cool.
There's the lady standing at the back of the cinema watching.
Yes.
But we don't
Jane
see him.
can't-
We don't see him.
Yeah, we don't see it because they're playing that game where it's like,
What's the game? Do you remember?
no.
No.
Pick somebody,
it's like-
pick somebody in the crowd.
It's a really bad game.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
it's
Pick
No,
somebody in the
no,
crowd, and then you have to pick.
No, it's just
you
like
have 3 chances to get
it's like
your
I picked Ruby, and then you would have to try and guess like who I picked.
Yeah.
But then she obviously done her wee shot. Now it's his turn, so he picked.
Yeah.
He picked someone, so she's looking around and she's saying like she has her 3 guesses, and she's like, then who is it? And then he says her,
The one
and
with
then
yellow
she
dress,
looks
isn't it,
and
Marvin?
she's like, there's no one in a
Yeah.
yellow
Yes.
dress.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, we have to get out of here. And then I go,
He goes, I don't feel well because the film's
Yeah.
not started, man. Like, I'll be raging. But then they go on this nice romantic drive to the middle of next to that abandoned factory.
Scenic.
Red flag. It's like, I know romantic spot. Get out of the car, girls. Open, jump, duck, dive, and roll.
Doors locked. Smash.
Smash. Secondly, if a guy tries to take it to a secondary location, get out of the car. Get out of the car.
or like see if he's like.
And then she gets told the rules about how the entity works. Yeah?
It's really a final girl because like, she follows all the tropes, but like, except for like one of them, all her friends survive.
Yeah. That's what I said again. About this film, it subverts the genre. It puts it on its head as well. So it takes obviously the genre and subverts it at the same time, because the friends all do survive. And the fact, and by surviving, she has to have sex to survive.
The point you made, like, punished for having sex, but then the only way they can stay living is by also. It's very like, oh, that's weird.
Yes, we're getting towards the ending of our movie now, right? So they come up with a plan to try and destroy and kill the entity. For those of you who managed to brave it and finish it, right? What was the plan? Do you remember what happened in this scene?
Like electrocute him in the pool.
Yes. You know that's because I told you, Ruby. I know it's because I told you. Yeah, but also you get it's almost like the iconic shot from the movie is because they brought a gun as well, didn't they, to try and shoot the. But also, do you remember what form it takes at this point? It's like an older gentleman, isn't it? All naked man.
I don't want to tell you what it is. When
Yeah.
my sister asked, I was like, oh, have we seen this person before?
we haven't seen
There's a
that.
picture at the end of the film. There's a picture and there's like a family and the guy, but I couldn't remember if that was the guy who was it.
Wait, is it her
Can't remember.
granddad?
Yeah, I think it could be more towards the dad, because we don't see the dad, but also we don't see the mum's face either.
I thought maybe he's.
They almost become a savant as well, because that's a trope of the horror genre. The savant is an all-knowing character who knows what's happening in the movie, but they also learn by doing. They learn by passing on as well, how to survive, how to pass it on, and eventually they track down the original person who passed it on to Jay, didn't they? Track it down, and he got it off someone, and I think someone in his school. wasn't it? Or someone a date he went on with. Yeah, and then he basically tried to pass it on because also he's living in an abandoned house himself to make sure the entity couldn't find him. So yeah, I thought in terms of characterization, again, it's a strange one because in elements she is a strong final girl, but in elements she's relying almost on our male counterparts to try and survive as well, because she has to have sex to try and survive it. So almost, again, that's what I mean. It's one of these kind of ones that subverts the genre. What's that?
It has no choice.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, which is horrible. Again, and Tiny taps into the negative side of this sexual culture that's trying to establish as well. Go for it.
Another thing that confused me in the movie was the scene with the boat. I didn't know if she had sex with the guys on the boat or not.
And then the
I
water.
thought she did.
I thought she did as well, yeah.
I thought she did, but then it cuts to like the scene, like a scene after that, and then the guys on top of the house, like waiting
but
for
I
her.
think he would have found those. I don't know if she would have told those guys on the boat
Probably not.
what happened.
Yes,
I think they would have got killed, and then it was almost like a temporary break from the people.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. But I think I want to talk about like our kind of best and scariest moments of the film. Because some I think we can all agree with on that one, but I'll come to that in a second. Some people say it was quite slow paced and stuff, which is absolutely fair. It was a very slow burner. But then we get to in the house. So downstairs, the entity is this partially clothed, looked. So the almost like the tragedy in that from it as well, and how horrible the whole situation was, like a victim of sexual violence. So downstairs, it's that form. And then Jay runs up the stairs, locks himself in the bedroom, and they chat the door, and it's Paul. Bless you guys. And it's Paul comes through. And then you hear a knock at the doors again, and it's Yara, and they open the door. And the camera, you see Yara, the camera cuts back to Jay, cuts back to Yara. Yara walks in, but then what do we see?
A man.
The tall man. Yes. How terrifying.
He looks like the guy, like, you know, the prisoner photo. Like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You know
like
what?
the world's most dangerous prison.
They wonder because he can reach you from anywhere. It's like
They're getting on my, like,
If it is based on folk who've had sexual violence, like how was that guy human? His arms were like 2 feet.
well, again, funnily enough, he didn't audition. He was a local who they found in the street.
Shut up.
They found this guy walking down the street in Detroit, and they just said, "Look, we'll pay you. Do you want to come?" And it's like 2 minutes screen time, if that.
Someone talked about that. She was like, she got approached for.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Oh, do you know that? You know, that's an actor. Yeah, he's an actor. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so Lexi had a picture of an actor who plays the very tall man in Doctor Sleep. Yeah, and I think it was a real prisoner. But
No, I didn't. I just.
It's like a meme for like world's most dangerous prison.
because again, if you stood behind the yellow line, he could reach you. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I think we agreed that was scary. But for me as well, it was the influence from Night Living Dead, and it was at the boathouse, and that little boy and the scream because the camera's focusing on that hole in the wall, and we never actually saw what caused the hole in the wall because it's invisible, and it's just holding, and then it's all silent, and then you get the wee boy running, trying to climb in, and that horrifying, piercing scream, and the black eyes as well. I thought for me that was a good jump scare as well. Get him.
In that scene, it's like when it ends outside, you see it walk past as the tall man, and
Yes.
then obviously it has to like adjust itself to like get them in the easiest way, so it becomes like a small.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it was again.
Oh my god, that's
Stop
scares
it.
me
Yeah,
so
because
much.
he said,
Oh, we're
he
gonna
said that he had to
get
morph
prepared for
himself
skin.
into a smaller man, so that's.
Yeah, what I love about it as well is it's a whole mystery behind it. We don't really know what it is. We know how it operates because, but we don't actually know how it does it and what it does. Yeah, how does it choose who it becomes? So, I quite like that about it. Whereas, and I always feel with slasher films and horror films, the more mystery behind the killer and the creature, the better. I feel like, so for example, I'll use Halloween as an example for this, right? Is they did a remake of Halloween by Rob Zombie made a remake of it, which was pretty bad. It gave Michael Myers an origin story as a wee boy, who then, and how he became Michael Myers. So I think what happens there is it almost humanizes your killer a little bit, and I don't really like that. It's like what he did with. To be fair, like I don't mind it so much now. At the time, I did. It's the prequels to Star Wars. It was essentially as Darth Vader's character arc, right? But it's again, you see how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. For me, kind of humanizes Darth Vader more, because Darth Vader was a scary, foreboding force. So I like it about this, how we don't really know a lot about it. So that for me, that was really cool. And the last thing as well is the score. I thought the score was just so cool. You know, it was heart-thumping, synthesizers, very old-school 80s video nasty soundtracks that you get. That someone could easily just sit and play on a keyboard, but it works so well. It's just cheap and nasty as well, you know.
Another thing it does, like, decade-wise, it's got like 80s synth, but when the talker comes through the door, it plays like a very like insidious violin type noise.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Go for it.
When it first played, when it was like driving in the street, I was convinced that it was the Halloween like score, and I was like, where did they get the rights for this?
I said, wait a minute.
I was convinced that that's
It's
what
like
it was.
someone's
because it
getting
sounded so similar.
sued. Yeah, no, I guess it's like that heart thumping. Yeah, and that kind of high screech. Yeah.
Makes you like more like.
I find that's what it does. The music at points can be quite serene, and it adds to the dreamlike scape. But then it can always become nightmare-like as well when the entity is there. So you'll be glad to know, guys, we've come to towards the end of our podcast. Thanks, Lexi.
My more jokes.
No. Right. So we've come to the part of our podcast where we kind of rate our film out of 5. Right? We'll go around that way. Don't worry. Right? And the rule always is no decimals. Right? No. 4.2 5? No. 4 or a 5. Right? Or a 1, 2, 3, 5. Right?
4.6.
I think I already know I know the score because she told me the score today. You're going to be shocked by it, by the way. You're going to be shocked by it.
What,
Right.
like,
So again, if I walk way around, right, if you give me your score at 5 and give me statement why you think, what you like about it, alright? Morgan, we'll start with you, is that okay?
I give the movie a 4 out of 5
Oh.
because I really liked it and I thought the idea was really original and everything, but I didn't really like the ending. I wanted them to die. And I just thought it would be pretty scary to just see them that there's no way out of it, there's no way around it, you die.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see it.
Yeah, you want to say. So, but again, to try to go back a wee bit, we never actually spoke about the ending. We'll just do that really quickly. So we believe the entity's been killed at the pool, right? So, and then Jay and Paul get together because Paul offered to save Jay, and they're walking down the street and they're going hand in hand. You're like, oh, how sweet. But then you have someone walking behind them onto the path. But the one thing is, we don't know if either it's the entity or just a normal passerby. It's ambiguous, isn't it? What I love about it, it reminds me of the Inception ending. Everyone knows you've seen Inception?
no,
No,
it's too
And
close
the
for me.
ending to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street as well. Again, so that the idea of the spinning top, it questions whether or not DiCaprio's character Cobb was in a dream or awake, because it spins and it topples a little bit, so you don't know, right? So I love that kind of ambiguous ending, and I think so. Part of it, you go, oh, it's almost like it deals with how your outlook on life is to an extent. We clearly know Morgan's outlook on life.
I have a great outlook on it.
You normally do,
I
yeah.
wanted to see something a little different because usually in a horror movie, no matter how mental it sounds, they find a way to not die at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kill them off.
Take a risk. You know what I mean? And don't do a Twilight risk and kill everyone and go, oh, it was all a dream.
It's Twilight season, it cannot be dissed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They'll come for me again.
Yeah.
They'll come for me again.
They will. I'll
They
make
found
sure
your
of
IP
it.
address.
They did. I didn't know I had one. I don't know it. Right. So, everyone, Katie's going to our shift in Asda.
Wait.
Hey! So, Katie, before you go, what's your score out of 5?
3.
Oh!
Joking, I would say 4.
Okay.
I really wanted to do
Yeah, okay.
a 4.5. Purely because I thought the film was good, the idea was good, hated the ending.
Ashlyn, you're next.
I'd give it a 4.4 out of 5 even.
You were going to say 4.5. You were going to say it.
4 out of 5.
Go.
I really liked it. I thought it was interesting, but I just didn't know where it was going at some point.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was just a bit like,
Kieran.
See, I want to give it a 3.5, but I'll give it a 4 because I didn't like the ending. There's like so much better points you could have stopped at.
Okay, so where would you stop it?
Like either when she's looking down at all the blood rising from the pool, because that gives a mystery of like, is it dead or is it not? And then it kind of like sums it up because maybe it opened to her in a pool and it'll end with it dying in a pool.
Oh. Or could Eddie McCarthy's destroyed body floating on the pool?
Can I offer up like an alternative
Go.
ending there? See, instead of it cutting when the blood does it, it's just the blood like comes out and engulfs her, like just eats her up.
Love it.
Either that or the end.
Love it. Love it. Sophie, you're next. Oh, right. Okay, go for it.
Because it was too slow and I didn't like the ending, and I rated Lady Bird a 3.5 and I like that better.
You rated Lady Bird a 3.5.
Did I? No, I rated it a 4. But I like that much more than this, so I
Okay.
have to rate it lower.
Again, I suppose as well at the same time, if genre's not your, if horror's not your genre, then
No, I like horror.
Yeah.
This was just not good.
So man, the scare wasn't that scary. Like he saw his figure and he's like, "Oh, what's that?" But as soon as he starts running, it's like the scare's gone.
Lexi.
Oh, here we go.
right, here's my point.
Ah.
So I will give it a 2 out of 5, right?
You just told me you liked it.
You just said I really enjoyed it.
When?
Then the words come out. No.
About 4 minutes
Let
ago.
me tell my saying. Right, so I give it a 2 out of 5 because that, first of all, I've not seen it all, so I can't judge it on what I've seen. No, but from what I've seen, it's a very slow movie, and Lexi probably doesn't do slow in it. No, it doesn't. I don't have the patience for like slow movies.
Thankfully, have the pages of a state.
But
Sophie.
I would give it a 3 out of 5
Okay.
because I didn't watch the end, but from what I can hear, it could have been better. But I really like the idea of it just always following, and it really creeped me out how you could sometimes see it in the distance, but they didn't like mention it.
Oh yeah, so
That
that's that.
freaks me out.
Yeah, it plays to the audience a lot more as well. Cause like you're there, it's like a panto. It's behind you. Yeah. So yeah.
they don't listen.
3 out of 5. I don't mind slow films, it was just kind of rubbish. It just wasn't done very well.
I always appreciate honest feedback, guys. Right.
Mine was on.
And Lexi. Iona.
I give it a 1 because.
Okay, I guess you didn't like it.
I need to say, right. I really don't like horror films. Like, I really do not like them.
Boring.
I just hate them. But like everyone else said, it was very slow paced. And I give it a 1. The reason why I give it a 1 is because it was scary. And that's the point in a horror film.
Well,
to
no
be
way.
scared. That gets at one point. But what I didn't understand was, at one point, did the neighbour start following them? Like, did their neighbour come out and ask if they were okay?
Oh, you mean the girl at the start?
No, like they went to a park and then she thought like someone was behind them and it was like
The neighbour, yeah. Oh,
The guy was rolled to the car.
I was like, no, it was like her, because the neighbour seen them run out the house. This happened.
Yeah.
Like, why? What was the need for him to be there? I just didn't really like that part. I just didn't like.
You obviously had a thing for her because half of the movie they were in the hospital.
Ruby.
Right, so like I promise I'm not copying Iona, but it's a 1. I didn't like it. Like I have no sorry, I'm talking really fast, right? But I have like no reason not to like it, but I just didn't like it. It was just so bad.
It's quite the critique there.
It was just horrible. Like I'm so sorry, right? Like I just sat there the whole movie thinking to myself, this is a waste of my time. Like I'm so sorry, but I did not like it at all. No, I hated it.
If
It gave me
David Robert
nightmares.
Mitchell happens to listen to this podcast, Ruby does not let speak for all of us.
No, like I'm sorry, but no.
Wait, and you picked this movie because you like this movie.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll give it a 3.
Wait, no.
Because it was a good film. I like the idea. I'm kind of repeating everyone, but I don't know what else to say. I didn't really like the ending. A little bit like, oh, it could have been a bit better, but it was still a good film. I don't really like horror films, but I managed to watch it.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah.
So it's alright.
Okay. Kieran?
What do you rate it?
It's not the perfect horror film, I acknowledge that.
She's defending.
So why
Yes.
did you make us watch it?
Because I like it. Because, again, I got a 4 out of 5.
Oh, you can. Oh wait, yeah, you can.
I didn't know what's going on.
No, I thought.
I get a 4 out of
No,
5.
he said 4.5.
No, 4 out of 5. Yeah. Again, I appreciate good filmmaking all the time as well, and so I think it's made really well. The concept's really interesting. It's a new way of dealing with the genre. I love the score. You know, I love the homage to other horror films and so on. But yeah, I think to agree as well. I think at some points can be fleshed out a bit more for me. It's a wee bit slower paced. But I think what it does, it creates a foreboding atmosphere rather than trying to go for a jump scare all the time, which I quite like as well. I like the world building behind it. But yeah, so we have finally come to the end of our podcast for this month, our Halloween special. As always, everyone who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our podcast, and many, many points to discuss afterwards. If you have been offended in absolutely any way,
Sorry, but
I'm only joking. We do not. It's just a critique. That's all we're doing here, right?
Speak the truth.
So, our next film for the St Mungo's Film Society is the superhero film Kick-Ass.
Yay!
Yeah, because what I want to try and do is I want to try to pick films that have new ways of representing the genre. As always, guys, thank you much for listening. Take care and say bye, everyone.
Bye.